When it comes to natural disasters, we tend to focus on the ones that are happening right now or have happened in the past. We worry about hurricanes bearing down on the coast or earthquakes that rattle our cities. But there's another silent threat lurking beneath us that we rarely think about until it's too late. Supervolcanoes. These colossal geological formations are one of Earth's most powerful forces. And although they don't erupt very often, their impact is so catastrophic that they can change the course of human history. In this video, we're gonna take a closer look at some of the world's largest supervolcanoes and explore what would happen if one of them erupted today. What makes a volcano a supervolcano? It's not size but power. A supervolcano is defined by its explosive potential, not its physical dimensions. To qualify as a supervolcano, a volcano must be able to produce an eruption with a volcanic explosivity index, or VE, of 8. To put it simply, the higher the VE rating, the more powerful the eruption. On a scale from 1 to 8, anything from 4 and above is considered a major eruption. So a supervolcano is any volcano that has the capacity to cause a VE 8 eruption. Most eruptions at supervolcanoes are much less intense than their maximum possible eruption. The Yellowstone supervolcano in the United States, for example, is currently rated at a low to moderate level of unrest. Scientists monitor its seismic activity closely because even minor increases in volcanic activity could signal a more significant event. However, scientists do not expect a major eruption from Yellowstone anytime soon. Yellowstone is also the largest supervolcano in the United States. It's located in the northwest corner of Wyoming and covers an area of 43 by 28 miles. This massive volcano is actually a caldera, which is a large volcanic crater formed by the collapse of a volcano after a major eruption. The caldera is filled with 3 smaller calderas, and the entire formation is surrounded by geysers, hot springs, and other geothermal features. Yellowstone has had 3 major eruptions in the past: 2 million, 1.3 million, and 640,000 years ago. These eruptions were so massive that they left behind a layer of ash that's now spread across much of North America. If Yellowstone were to erupt again today, the consequences would be devastating. Ash and debris would blanket much of the western United States, causing widespread crop failure and respiratory problems. Pyroclastic flows and lava could travel hundreds of miles from the volcano, destroying everything in their path. The good news is that scientists are closely monitoring Yellowstone, and they don't expect a major eruption anytime soon. The bad news is that Yellowstone isn't the only supervolcano out there. There are at least a dozen others scattered around the globe. Some of these volcanoes are dormant, meaning they haven't erupted in thousands of years. Others, like Mount Vesuvius, are still active. Mount Vesuvius is located in Italy and is one of the most famous volcanoes in the world. It gained notoriety in 79 AD when it erupted and destroyed the Roman city of Pompeii. Vesuvius has continued to erupt throughout history, but it wasn't until the 16th century that it became a major threat to human populations. Today, more than 3 million people live within the volcano's blast radius. If Vesuvius were to erupt today, it would be a disaster of unimaginable proportions. Cities like Naples and Salerno would be destroyed, and the entire region would be covered in ash. Fortunately, scientists are working hard to monitor Vesuvius and keep the population safe. They've developed an early warning system that will give people living near the volcano precious minutes to evacuate if an eruption is imminent. But even with all of our technology and scientific knowledge, there's only so much we can do to prepare for a supervolcanic eruption. These events are so massive and destructive that they can completely wipe out entire cities. And even if we do manage to survive the initial blast, we'll have to deal with the aftermath. Supervolcanic eruptions can have far-reaching effects on the global climate. For example, the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia caused temperatures around the world to drop by several degrees. Crops failed, and an estimated 100,000 people died. The 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens in Washington state was one of the deadliest and most destructive eruptions in U.S. history. Although the death toll was relatively low, the eruption caused billions of dollars in damage. If a major eruption were to occur in an area with a high population density, the death toll could be staggering. The economic impact would also be devastating. Ash and debris would likely ground air traffic, disrupt agricultural production, and contaminate water supplies. Even if you manage to avoid the initial blast and subsequent disasters, you might not make it through the winter. A supervolcanic eruption could plunge the world into a nuclear winter. Nuclear winter is a term used to describe the hypothetical situation that would occur if a large number of nuclear bombs were detonated over a densely populated area. The explosion of the bombs would generate an incredible amount of heat, light, and radiation, causing widespread destruction. But perhaps even more dangerous would be the long-term effects of the event. The dust and smoke from the explosions would block out the sun, causing temperatures to plummet and crops to fail. The radiation would also kill off much of the wildlife and contaminate the water supply. A small group of survivors might pull through the initial blast and struggle to rebuild their lives. But without modern conveniences like refrigeration, clean water, and medical care, life would be incredibly difficult. But it's not just people who would suffer. A supervolcanic eruption could have devastating consequences for the entire planet. It's hard to imagine how any life could survive an event of this magnitude, let alone how long it would take for the planet to recover. So what would happen if a supervolcano erupted today? The answer, unfortunately, is that we're not sure. These events are so rare that we have little real-world data to go off of. We can look to history for clues, but even the most massive eruptions in recorded history pale in comparison to a true supervolcanic eruption. We do know that a supervolcanic eruption would be one of the worst disasters in human history. It would cause widespread destruction and loss of life, and could potentially trigger a nuclear winter. But it would also be an incredible natural phenomenon that would leave us with a new perspective on the power of nature. A supervolcanic eruption is a humbling experience that reminds us of our place in the natural world. When we learn about these events, we tend to focus on the negative aspects, and rightfully so. They are some of the most destructive events in history and can have devastating consequences. But they are also a reminder of the amazing power of our planet. It's easy to feel like we're in control of everything when we're caught up in the day-to-day grind. But when something truly massive happens, like a supervolcanic eruption, puts things in perspective. It reminds us that there are forces much greater than ourselves out there, and that we should never take our place on this planet for granted. Volcanoes are fascinating structures, and their eruptions can be both beautiful and terrifying. While it's important to study and respect the power of volcanoes, it's also important to remember that they are a natural part of our planet. Supervolcanic eruptions are rare, but they're also a reminder of the amazing power of our planet. They may seem scary, but they're also something to be in awe of. Now, it's your turn. What are your thoughts? What would happen if a supervolcano erupted today? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates. Thanks for watching.